In this video, I'm going to walk you through a basic project management setup inside of Monday.com. So if you're new to the platform and you just want to get started, this is going to be the video for you. Just walk you through everything you need to know about project management. By the way, if you'd like us to help you sales at Monday.com for your business, check out the link in the description below. Anyway, as you can see here, I'm inside of my example Monday.com system. Now, this can be done in Sales CRM, work management. It doesn't really matter too much. But this is going to be a basic setup. Obviously, there are far more advanced levels to this if you wanted to pursue those. But to begin with, if you are new to the system, this will just get you going. So first and foremost, we're going to press the plus button, top left-hand corner here, and we're going to create a new board. This is going to be our projects board, okay? Now, privacy options are, of course, entirely up to you. Main, accessible to anyone. Private, only you and select individuals. And then shareable. If you want to share your project board externally, you are more than welcome to. And then all we need to do here is select what we are managing in this board. So in this case, it's just going to be projects. You can write that in, or you can just select the projects option. This doesn't matter too much. It's just, a naming thing. So once you've kind of gone through the setup or the configuration, all you need to do is press create board. So this board is where we are going to manage all of our projects, not necessarily the tasks associated with our projects, but just the projects themselves. So to begin with, I would just, go through the basic setup here. We've got a few different groups. I would typically manage the stages of our project within our group. So we might have upcoming projects. And of course, this is going to depend entirely on you and how your business operates. You might then have active projects as like the second stage of the process. So they're upcoming, then they go to active, and then hopefully at some stage they are then completed projects. Now you could also have, let's say, a cancelled / postponed projects area as well, / postponed projects, because this does happen, of course, every now and again. But just to begin with, you could keep it as simple as upcoming, active, and then completed, and then not worry about anything else. So I've added that as an additional option, but in essence, this is our project process. It's pretty straightforward, pretty self-explanatory. The next thing that we would look to do is just make sure that the status column matches our different groups as the different stages of the process. So the default label is going to be upcoming, and then we would go to active. And then from active, we would go to completed. And then from completed, we would go to cancelled / postponed. And then all we need to do is just reposition these down here. And then I can go ahead and just change the color of active to the purple just to match it, as you can see. So upcoming to active to completed to cancelled to / postponed. So those are the different stages or potential stages of our project process. Again, it's going to depend on you and your business, but the basic concept, the basic concept being, the groups need to match your status options. So the groups need to act as a process, and then the status needs to kind of reinforce that. Okay. If that makes any sense at all. So the next thing that we would look at, and I'm not going to get into any kind of fancy date tracking or anything like that, is all we really need to do on this board is just think about the data points that we want to track in association with our project. So I'm just going to give you some examples. Example number one, we might have a numbers column. This could be project revenue. Okay. So this is just a numbers column, 3 dotted buttons, settings. We can customize this numbers column. You might want, I like to have 2 decimal places, and then you can go ahead and select the currency that you're operating in. So if you're based in the US, you can select the dollar. Now, I also just like to hide the column summary here just to keep it tidy. But you can see here, we have our project revenue set up. Now, this means that I can track, let's say this is a $50,000 project. I can then track the revenue associated with this project. If I want to add a new project, call this project or example project number 1 as an example, I can then go ahead and put, let's say this is a 40,000 or 400,000. Oh, well, that's fantastic. So you get the idea, right? Project revenue, easy to track. Okay. Now, the next thing we would look at is any other data points that you think are going to be relevant. So you've got a files column. So I would either have a file column or a link column. So I can link to, let's say, the Google Drive folder that we're using to manage the documentation for this particular project. So that's a nice and easy one. I personally prefer using the link column, but you can use the file column if you would like to. Needless to say, I would not upload the files directly to Monday. I would make sure they are stored in a Google Drive or a OneDrive or a SharePoint, and then just linked to the project, or the project folder in Google Drive is then linked to the project inside of monday.com. So if we then continue to go through, you might also, let's say, add a timeline column. This is going to be the timeline for this particular project. So I can set a start date and then an end date. That's the nice thing about a timeline, whereas with a date column, it's a singular day, whereas a timeline, it can span over a series of days. This is especially useful because then you can create things like Gantt charts, and you can see your upcoming projects, when they're scheduled to start, when they're scheduled to end, if they actually start and end around the time that they were scheduled to, so you can manage things like that. You might also have, I'm just trying to think what else you would want here. You might have a status column. This could be, let's say, project type. So if you sell different types of projects, for example, with us, we'll sell time bank. So if you want help with monday.com, you can purchase a time bank from us, or we might sell a project. So depending on the requirements of the client, we might sell one of those. We will sell one of those two things if they're buying, right? So I would need a way to distinguish between my projects that are time banks and my projects that are actually projects, if that makes any sense at all. Okay. And then if there are other data points, you can just press more columns. We can scan through here. You might want a priority column. So you want to be able to see the priority of that particular project if you want to. We might add, let's say, a long text column. This could be a project description, but this is really just basic stuff. Okay, just anything that you think is worth tracking in association with your different projects. You can see the priority column comes pre-populated with the different priority options, which is nice. So now the only other thing that we need to do is just set up the automations for the different stages of the process. So we go to automate, top right hand corner, manage, create automation. And then all we need to do is set up our trigger and then our action. So our trigger is when status changes to, and then upcoming, as an example, we move item to the group upcoming. Okay. So we're going to have to, unfortunately, do this for every single one, but we only have to do it once. So when status changes to active, move item to group active. There we go. And then the next one, when status changes to completed, move item to group completed projects. Yeah, so that's right. And then finally, it would be when status changes to cancel / postponed, move item to group cancelled / postponed, create automation. Fantastic. So that's pretty much it. So now you have a board to manage all of your projects. When the status changes, they will move to the different group. If I change this, in theory it should anyway, but you can see how it moves across. We've got data points that we can track in association with our projects as well. So, you know, project type, if we got, let's say, time bank, project timeline, Google Drive folder, the project revenue, the project description. And then also with the person column, I can assign it to different people inside of the organization as well. So if I assign this one to Alex, he's then responsible for that particular project. Now, the other key component of any project, and this might be enough for you, so you might be able to jump off the video now, call it a day, just get started with this, then you can expand on it over time. But quite often there are tasks, unfortunately, associated with projects. So I'm going to walk you through how to manage tasks as well. So if you press the plus button, and we need to create another board in this instance, this is going to be our tasks board. Okay, privacy options, again, entirely up to you. And then on this board, we are managing tasks. Again, the naming convention doesn't matter too much, but I go ahead and press create board. So what happens here is these are the tasks associated with our projects. So all we need to do now is just the different stages of our task process. So to do, tasks, again, this is entirely up to you. So you might have a slightly different task process, but to do tasks, doing tasks, and then done tasks are generally a pretty easy way to manage this. So we're going to go to do, be the grade, doing, done. Now, again, just like the projects, we need the status column to match. So to do, and then doing, and then done. Nice and simple. Oh, well, it would have been nice and simple until monday.com decided that it didn't want us to work like that. So, and then we go done. Now you can have, obviously, like I said, more stages to this process. It's entirely up to you. I'm just going to make this purple as well. So, clicking wrong places. There we go. So it matches. And then I'm just going to go ahead and hide the column summary. Cool. So now, all we need to do is populate the tasks board with data points that you want to track in association with a particular task. So as an example, the date column we can use because we probably want that as a due date. So 3 dotted button settings go to set as deadline as well, and then just connect the person column. So now monday.com knows that this is a due date column. Okay. And then it's just a case of adding any other data points that you need. So let's say we could add a priority column. So if you want to track the priority of a particular task, what else could we manage here? I mean, you could have, let's say, a long text column. This is going to be a task description. There we go. And then, you know, by all means, add whatever you need. I don't think there's much else that needs to be added here at this stage. If we are trying to keep it simple, this would be absolutely fine. The only thing we do need to do is connect our tasks board to our projects board. Okay, so what I'm going to do is press the plus button. This is a connect boards column. You might not have used this before. I'm going to walk you through it. It's very simple. So just add a connect boards column, and then all we want to do is connect our tasks board to our projects board. So we just select the board that we would like to connect to, and then select the projects board that we've got, and then just make sure you press set as a two-way connection, and just make sure that option is selected, and then just hit connect boards. Okay, so now I can connect my task, and what I would just kind of emphasize is one task will be only ever connected to one, or a task will only ever be connected to one project. Okay, so now the way this will work is I can see the associated project for this particular task. So let me give you an example, right? So let me just delete these kind of random ones that are pre-populated when you create a new board. You will see here though that there is now a connection column on the projects board as well. That is because we press create a two-way connection. So now we can see all of the tasks associated with this particular project. So what would happen is, let's say I get off a client call. I have a client call, great conversation, they give me a load of stuff I need to do, load of work. What I would then do, and I'm just going to also delete these for clarity's sake, is I would say, right, I've got 3 tasks I need to do for project 1. So I call this example task number 1. You might even call it for project number 1 as an example. I would then select this due date. So I'd say this is the 18th. The priority for this is medium, and this is the task description. Hit enter. Very simple. That's it. The only other thing that I want to do here is just connect this task to that project. So I'm connecting this task to the project that it relates to. So, okay, in another world, imagine a new project is 1. So the sales team bring in another project, or you bring in another project. So this is example project number 2. Hit enter. This is assigned to myself. Again, it doesn't really matter at this stage. The status is active. Let's say the project revenue is 50K. And then timeline, project type, let's say it's the time bank, priority is high. Cool. So we've got a new project added. But now, let's say I have the onboarding call with the client. I speak with them, and then they say to me, okay, we need you to do X, Y, and Z. So I would say this is example task number 1 dash project number 2 in this case. Again, the naming convention is entirely up to you. I mean, it's probably not going to be called example task number 1, but you would just phrase it however it's going to make most sense to you. And then I can connect this task to example project number 2. So now what I can do is I could go ahead and filter by, I can say, show me all my tasks where the project is equal to example project number 1. So I can see all my tasks for project number 1. Nice and easy. The other nice thing about this is if we go to our projects board, I can go ahead and create what's called a mirror column. So I can mirror over the data from the tasks board onto my projects board. So I press the plus button, press mirror. So we're creating a new column. This is called a mirror column. We connect our mirror column to our connect boards column by pressing connect, and the tasks option will be the only one, subject to only having created one connect boards column. And then what we want to mirror in this case is the status. This is then the task status for this particular project. So this will show me all of the tasks associated with this particular project and consequently the status of all of those tasks. So if I go to my tasks board again and I create a new task, this is example task number 3. This is also for project number 1. Okay, so I've got 2 tasks for project number 1. This is doing, and this is also connected to example project number 1. What I can do is I can go to my projects board and I can see 1 is doing, 1 is to do. And then if I go ahead and change the status to done, I don't think we set up the automations to move it to the different groups, but let's imagine we have, then it will move to the group done. And I can see that 50% of the tasks for this particular project are done and 50% are to do. This is very basic, but it will get you going. Okay, you've got a projects board, you can see all of your projects, and you've got a task board, you can see all of your tasks. You can filter by status, you can filter by task type if you wanted to have a task type column, which would be another status column. You can filter by project as well. You can filter by due date if you wanted to. So the only thing we need to do now is just automate the different stages of the process. This is easy. We did it on the projects board as well. So automate, manage, create automation. When status changes to do, move item, to group, to do, create automation. Easy. Now we've got 2 more to do. So when status changes to doing, move item, to group, doing. And then finally, when status changes to done, move item, to group, done, create automation. That's it. We've done a very basic project management setup within Monday.com. Obviously, this can be 10, 20, 50 times more advanced. Well, 50 times might be a bit extreme, but this can be a lot more advanced without a shadow of a doubt. You can then look at reporting and all sorts of different tracking. But if you want to get going with just managing some simple projects within Monday, you've got a place to put your projects, the status of those projects, the revenue, project type, priority, and then you've got the tasks associated with those, and you're managing the different stages. Let's say this moves to doing, then it will move to the doing group, hypothetically, which it has done. That's pretty much all you need to do. Now, if you would like us to help you build out a more advanced project management system for your business within Monday.com, we would absolutely love to help. So all you need to do is click the button in the description below, book a time with me, and either we will offer you a time bank or a project, depending on what you're looking to achieve. And then, we can help you set up your system, train you on how to use the system. It's entirely up to you how you want to work with us. But, book a call below using the link in the description below. But this is a basic project management setup. This will get you from not having used Monday at all to at least managing projects in a relatively coherent way. And then this can only be expanded on. You can only make this more advanced, which is fantastic. Anyway, thank you ever so much for watching. If you do need help, check out the link in the description below. If you've got any questions, comment below. Thank you ever so much for watching. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.